Hey, this is Matt. Once again, what about another video? This is another paid request, this time for Brian. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos or topics or reviews or commentaries or re-reviews or randomness or out of blueness or whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box under the video. And so he wanted me to review and talk about a WrestleMania, which has been a while since I've talked about wrestling because I don't really watch wrestling anymore. I watched wrestling back in the day. I had Hulk Hogan VHS tapes. I don't really care about Hulk Hogan nowadays, but back then, as a kid, I was a Hulkamaniac. Now I'm more into either Stone Cold Steve Austin, because I watched a bit of the Attitude Era back in the day with the WWF and WCW going back and forth. I'm more into Macho Man Randy Savage. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Macho Man Randy Savage, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Bret the Hitman Hart, Booker T, Diamond Dallas Page. Like, those are more of my favorite wrestlers. Now, WrestleMania 22 was in 2006. And I guess this is considered one of the best WrestleManias. I don't know, either this confirms that I've lost so much interest in wrestling that it's hard. Either I lost so much interest in wrestling, or this is a time period that this is kind of when my enjoyment of wrestling went bye-bye, because the Attitude Era was done by around, you just say 2001, because like WCW around that time was closing down, and then Hulk Hogan and then came the WWF. I remember around 2003 Hulk Hogan was there, and there's a point where he had a deal with Vince McMahon where Vince fired Hulk Hogan, and I'm not Hulk Hogan, I'm the Patriot or something. He wore like a red, white, and blue mask. There was clearly Hulk Hogan. Yeah, I think that was around 2003 in SmackDown, I believe. And this is a few years after this, 2006, and this is when, with the people involved, there were talented people, but just the higher-ups, even some of the booking, there were nice moments, but the main people kind of drew me away from wrestling. And that kind of... I don't like John Cena, I don't like Triple H. I've been kind of discombobulating and babbling on, and let me just go full force. I hate these two guys as wrestlers. I do. And they're the guys in the main event. They're the guys that were trying to carry this company for the next group of years. And there'd be moments where people like Edge and people like CM Punk would get a little chance to shine, but then it was Triple H or it was John Cena. And I know there are people who like those guys. I don't. I never did. I never liked Triple H. I did not like him when he was Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the proper Englishman. I still remember him in a match with one of the Hog Boys. That's the wrestler's name. It was it Jacob and Eli Blue? Or was it someone else? Pretty much hog farmers, and one of the match stipulation was to have a match in the mud with pigs around, so it was probably pig shit there. This is like in 90, I don't know, 90... Because Hunter Hearst Helmsley, he was supposed to win King of the Ring, but then he did this thing with Scott Hall and, what was it, Kevin Nash and Shawn Michaels, where they call the curtain call. Because wrestling is supposed to be very protected, that is it real? Is it not real? Even if you know it's not real, we still want to keep the image. But they went out and said, yep, we're all friends, really. And these two are leaving for WCW. Goodbye. We love each other, even though we acted as if we hate each other. And a lot of people were pissed, and Triple H got punished. And he did not King of the Ring. Who did win King of the Ring? Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that was around the time... Actually, the team in the ring that he did the famous promo, Austin 316 says, I just whipped your ass, which helped elevate his career. But yeah, I never care for Triple H. I think his promos are boring. I think as a wrestler, he's mediocre at best. I think his matches go on slow and tiresome, and his entrances, people love the entrances he has. To me, they're ridiculous. Like in this, at the end, he comes in as Conan the fucking Barbarian. I'm like, this is parody, laughable bullshit. I don't care for his song, "And at the game. My name's Triple H. I'm going to play the game." And I never care for him. I don't think he has charisma. I don't think he has presence. And then John Cena, this is when he's supposed to be the good guy, the hero. They booed the shit out of him. That was kind of the only joy in the finale is the crowd booed the shit out of John Cena. Boo! And this was 2006. And he would be like up top for what, 10 years? I really do think he helped kill wrestling more than people want to say. What I mean by that is the ratings for Raw and wrestling dropped. Just when they saw that this was the leader, this was not Hulk Hogan in his prime, or people like Macho Man Randy Savage, Bret the Hitman Hart, not Stone Cold Steve Austin. This guy, I'm like, this guy just comes off as phony. His dialogue, his promos, I never believed a word. Because yes, you do say wrestling is fake, but we have to still believe in the character, believe in the wrestler, believe in what you're saying. Didn't buy it. I didn't buy him being angry. I didn't buy him being sincere. I don't buy him being a Marine. You're not a fucking Marine. You don't know how to salute. You don't know how to do shit. You can't work in the ring. He bumblefucks around the ring. How he flops around. There was a point where he tried to do like stunners. He didn't know how to do it. He would almost kill himself in certain moves. I think he's an overrated wrestler. He was never a good talent in the ring. I think there's so many people, whether it be even this time. I don't care if it's Edge, Booker T. I'm trying to think like Eddie Guerrero sadly had passed away. Rob Van Dam, Bobby Lashley. Yeah, at least he has a good presence. I wish they did Bobby Lashley back in the day like they did with Brock Lesnar with Suplex City, bitch. If someone thought of that and put what Bobby Lashley back in the day, man, it would have been great. John Cena and Triple H to me have such a lack of persona, lack of presence, lack of charisma. I know a lot of people like them. I never did. Again, my favorite wrestlers would be from Stone Cold Steve Austin, to Macho Man Randy Savage, to Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, to Bret the Hitman Hart, to like Diamond Dallas Page, Booker T. I don't know what the list would be, but they'd be in there. Jake the Snake Roberts, when he was in his prime. Again, Shawn Michaels is talented in the ring. I don't like him as a person, but he's very talented in the ring. Destiny's Child member Michelle Williams sings America the Beautiful. What's going into is John Cena versus Triple H, Shawn Michaels versus Vince McMahon, The Undertaker versus Mark Henry. So what happens on the show? Big Show and Kane is a tag team. They fight Carlito and Chris Masters. Now, yes, many matches you're going, I know who's going to win. Of course. That happens a lot. On the flip side, did anyone ever think that Carlito and Chris Masters would beat Big Show and Kane? Like, Big Show and Kane seem like such an unstoppable force. There's no way anyone could beat them unless they beat themselves. Like, who else could beat them? Unless he did two really good wrestlers that could outthink them, outwit them, use their agility, maybe one via count out or double teaming maneuvers. But they didn't do that. And there's a lot of times where you didn't have true tag teams. It's just, you know what, that guy and that guy have nothing going on. You guys just be a tag team. When I mean true tag team, I mean like the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. When it was Matt and Jeff Hardy, the Hardy Boys. And then they separated. And back to the Demolition. And this is a time mostly, hey, that and that person, like Carlito, Chris Matters, you're now a tag team. You're now a tag team. Just because. But there's not a lot of people that came in first and foremost as tag teams. Because for what I understand, Vince McMahon doesn't like tag teams. He's never been a big tag team guy. So that's why the tag team championship lead was never prevalent after a while. What do I take from this match? Kane, I'll give credit where credit's due. Shut up, stomach. I'll feed you later. I'll give credit where credit's due. Kane doing a drop kick and Kane doing a clothesline off the top rope is pretty impressive athletic-wise. But I'm going, why are you using these against these guys? I did. Cool that Kane does a drop kick and oh wow, he's on a top rope. You're a big guy, you're a strong guy. You don't need to do that against these two guys, but okay. The Big Show, and this is a time where he's the Big Slow. Here comes the Big Slow. And I don't even hate the Big Show. It's just, there's not a lot that he offered here. The crowd seemed dead other than when Chris Masters, which I'm like, who the fuck was that? He does like a master lock, like a maneuver, and he got it on Kane. The crowd popped. Oh, yeah. So I'm like, wow, okay, if Chris Masters beats Kane. But then after that, no. Chris Masters tries to hit Kane. He hits Carlito instead. Kane chokeslams Carlito. Kane and the Big Slow win. Carlito is a guy that had this frizzy hair, tried to be like a comedy wrestler. And a lot of times would eat an apple. That's kind of his big thing. So Big Show and Kane win. They're tag team champions. To me, other than, oh, Kane gets a couple decent maneuvers, you know who's going to win. The offense wasn't a whole lot, because you can't do a whole lot of offense against these two big guys. So that would be total bullshit. Kind of a forgettable match to me. The second one, I would say, is one of the better ones. It's the second Money in the Bank match ever. And for those who don't know wrestling, what's Money in the Bank? Well, the year before, they had this thing. If you win the match, in this case like a ladder match, and that's what Money in the Bank became. Ladder matches, group of people, they gotta get on the ladder, get up high enough to grab the suitcase and get it off. If they do, they have the suitcase. What the suitcase is for, you can use it whenever you want to have any match you want at any time you want. So most people use it. For example, let's say someone has a championship match and they win, but they've been beaten up very badly and they're tired. They go in, cash in, I go in, boom, win, 1, 2, 3. To me, the Money in the Bank match, like the match is fun, but the idea of Money in the Bank, it's more of for a pop. Oh shit. And here's the thing though. If the person loses, it kills their run at all. They can no more be a believable threat. Because if you're a guy that tries to wrestle a guy who's for 20 minutes or so been beaten up or beating someone up and they're tired or they're bleeding and you're fresh as a daisy and you fight them and you lose, still, you're buried. And if you win, doesn't really accomplish that you're tough. Just, okay, you beat him, a guy who's tired and beaten up already. So it doesn't really show, like, it doesn't really elevate you either. You beat up a tired, bloodied guy. Or you lost, it shows you even more of a failure. So again, the suitcase itself is mainly just, when they don't cash it, watch. Maybe it's today, maybe it's tomorrow, maybe it's next week. And that's what it's for. And I don't know. I don't know about that. But the match itself is one of the better matches of the card. You got Matt Hardy, Shelton Benjamin, who's a very good athletic wrestler. Finlay, never gave a shit about Finlay. Rob Van Dam, the whole effing show. Like Rob Van Dam. I liked he was good in ECW. Bobby Lashley, who I do like. And Ric Flair. Bobby Lashley, to me, has one of the moments I remember. I forget, was it ECW? I forget what pay-per-view it was. But some guy was outside and he was in a cage. So he runs out, bashes down the cage, and the cage falls on, I think it was Umaga, and rolls over. I thought, wow, that's one of the more badass moments. That's a cool moment. Like, that should have been like a good WrestleMania moment. Because I don't think it was for WrestleMania. But like, man, why didn't they say that for like a WrestleMania moment? But, yeah, the people involved, and yeah, I don't care about Finlay. But it's cool to see Ric Flair, old school. Bobby Lashley, big, tough, intimidating guy. Shelton Benjamin, Rob Van Dam, athletic guy. Same with Matt Hardy. Finlay's just in the way. But you a lot of good back and forth. Well, you could say it kind of became a stunt show, which that's fair. But RVD jumps on Matt Hardy, who's at the ladder. Ric Flair takes a suplex off the ladder, and for a guy that age to take that is pretty admirable. Ric Flair's hurt, he's got it out. It's like, oh man, he's gone. But no, he does come back later, which is cool. They overpower Bobby Lashley to do like the 3-man power bomb. Ric Flair comes in to do some moves, like slapping people in the chest. RVD uses like a chair and uses the drop kick Bobby Lashley off the ladder. There's a point where Shelton Benjamin, like Rob Van Dam's on the ladder, and then Shelton Benjamin actually jumps onto the ladder and they're fighting. And Matt Hardy, Hardy's on the ladder with Shelton, and then RVD pushes the ladder, so RVD pushes Matt Hardy and Shelton Benjamin fall. RVD wins. Cool that Rob Van Dam wins. And I think he did cash it in on John Cena and beat him. But then John Cena would be like, oh, well, he didn't beat me in my prime. He beat me when I was tired and bloody. And Rob Van Dam, I don't think his run was too long, sadly. I don't remember the details. Rob Van Dam was never great on the mic, but, he had a kind of a down low, easygoing personality, and he was fun to watch in the ring with his fraud splashes, and yeah, it was cool for RVD to win. Like, I would say that's one of the best matches on the card. Then you get the United States Championship match, Chris Benoit versus JBL. This is very tough to watch for me because of Chris Benoit. Now, I know there are people out there that feel it's a conspiracy, it is death. If there is, and something comes out of it, like in the future, wow, okay, I'll admit I was surprised. But I personally do think it was a case of a guy that, yes, there have been people who have had brain damage, and there have been people who have been fucked up. Not all of them did what he did, but I don't know, I mean, it's one of those things where They checked his head. He's got the head of a, like what they say, 80-year-old Alzheimer's patient that will create dementia. So you don't quite know what's real and what's not. And I think he did kill his wife and kid. It wasn't steroids, but I think all it takes is one moment. I mean, we watch that in movies. The beginning of Sound Rage, Brian Libby's character. I'm losing it. I'm losing it. And that's how a lot of those times work. That one moment. Boom. Did it. And how many times, oh, you seem like such a nice guy. You seem like such a cool guy. We've heard that and seen that in plenty of real-life events. I think this was another case of that. Again, I know people have conspiracy theories. That's cool. I don't subscribe to that. I think Benoit did that. And I don't think he was in his right mind. And that's why it's tough to watch this in a fair manner. I'm just being honest. JBL knew how to be a heel. Because by this point, Eddie Guerrero, who was a great talent, sad that he passed away, way too young, great talent. And this is the time when, before this, Rey Mysterio had won the Royal Rumble in honor of Eddie Guerrero. Which I know a lot of people got mad because... And I can understand why. Because, like, you're using Eddie as a manipulative ploy to get people to watch in a way. And that's why I'll get to that when Rey Mysterio has a match with two others. Who was it? It was... What was it? Randy Orton and Kurt Angle. The crowd booed Rey Mysterio. Because it just got tired of the doing it for Rey, doing it for Eddie, doing it for Eddie, doing it for Eddie. They got tired and they could see that this was... I think it was sincere in Rey Mysterio's part. I think there was sincerity, but you just see why the crowd felt, okay, you won Royal Rumble specifically for that reason. And it's like, Rey Mysterio deserves it. He's a talented performer and all this other stuff, but they also knew that was... if Eddie Guerrero had not passed away, Rey Mysterio would never have won the Royal Rumble. Ever. I think people knew that. And that's why, when I get to later, that's why they booed. And I mean, it's sad, but it's true. If Eddie Guerrero had never passed away, Rey Mysterio would never have won the Royal Rumble. He just never would have. Just saying. But I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, JBL, he knew how to be a heel. Because even though Eddie Guerrero had passed away, as a heel, he's supposed to have people to hate him. He would make people boom because he would mock Eddie's dance and the way he did these suplexes. So, I mean, how you feel about JBL? He knew how to do heel work. Chris Benoit, he was talented in the ring, but again, it's just hard to sit through because you see him do these swan dives, these flying headbutt moves, and each moment you're thinking, that's another notch, that's another moment, that's another... Because when you're fucking flying your head, like you're up and I'm going to do a flying head maneuver to land, that's going to fuck with your brain when you do that all the time. Especially that kind of maneuver. Which, by the way, that maneuver never worked. It looked like it hurt him more than the opponent. To me, he never should have done that move. I'm not saying things were changed just because of that, but that flying headbutt never did... It never did him any favors. It seemed like, again, it hurt him more than the opponent. Because as soon as he lands, they... Then a headlock that went on forever. JBL pins Benoit, uses the ropes, cheats, wins. JBL becomes the new U.S. champion. Again, because the people involved It's a tough one to watch, so I can't really judge it fairly. So I'll move on. Edge versus Foley. That and the Money in the Bank match to me were the two best matches on the card. Mick Foley, Edge, I like both of them as a performer. Hardcore match, I do think they do that a bit too much nowadays, but I think it worked well here because of Mick Foley's background, because of his history. Edge, I think Edge is a good wrestler. He was well in the ring. He knew how to do promos at the time. And in fact, he's done a few acting jobs. He's actually rather good. Like, he's got natural charisma, presence. And to me, he would have been much better than John Cena to be at the top. And not change his way either. Just be Edge, but be the champion. I think. But then there was a point that his neck got fucked up. He had to retire. I don't know if that didn't happen. Who knows what? Maybe he would have. I don't know. Maybe he would have been in the long run. I don't know for certain. But as a hardcore match, it worked well. Edge does the spear, but it fucked up. Mick Foley had this barbed wire around his stomach. Using barbed wire against each other. Landing Edge and taps, so the taps are on his back. Great moment. Spear. Edge spears Mick Foley through a flaming table. If you do that every week or every month, it gets old. But you do that every once in a while, ooh, shit, that's what people don't understand. If you do it every week, then it gets old. Oh, another flaming table. Okay, how about 2? Okay, how about 3? How about with taps? How about then people get desensitized. How can I miss you if you never go away? So the fact they only did one of these makes it seem more special. Yeah, just saying. So that was I think the best match. I guess I would put this the best match of the card. Then we get to the worst match, and sadly involves one of my favorites, Booker T. I'm going to go on a rant here. I need some water for this. Because what they did to Booker T when he went to WWF is blasphemy to me. And that's another thing that pisses me off about this. Booker T was very talented. He was part of Harlem Heat and WCW. Then he does push as a single, and he worked well. Hogan, we're coming for you! If you know Booker T and you know the Hogan promo, we're coming for you, baby! I'm not going to say the word. But, a little bit of slip-up where he called Hulk Hogan the N-word. We're coming for you! But he had a good look and presence to him. He worked solid in the ring. He had good moves and maneuvers. You could buy him as a champion. So he comes to WWF and they do nothing with him. He loses to Triple H, even though Triple H is the character he's playing. He's trying to be very racist with what he says. Nope, we gotta beat Booker T because WWF is better than WCW. And each time they've done this, we gotta showcase that WWF is better than WCW. Triple H beats Sting. Triple H beats Booker T. Diamond Dallas Page, they did shit with him when he went to WWF. To be a stalker to Undertaker's wife or girlfriend or something, whatever the fuck that was. Just awful ideas. They didn't know how to use WCW, and that's why the invasion angle, one of the many reasons, that and they couldn't get the big stars at that point. At that point, they could not get Hulk Hogan. At that point, they could not get Goldberg. At that point, they could not get Sting. So the WCW invasion angle went to the shit. And then, you know, people who did like Booker T and Diamond Dallas Page, they just used like crap. And here, Booker T, He sees the mentally challenged wrestler Eugene, because that was the thing for a while. Eugene was a mentally challenged person who was also a wrestler that at times would kind of win by accident. And then some guy named Snitsky licking Mae Young's foot, Goldust who's cross-dressing, and something about good luck facing the Boogeyman because he's a freak like us. And it's Booker T versus the Boogeyman. This is the worst match of the fucking card. It was a fucking disservice to Booker T. The Boogeyman always sucked ass. He did nothing except had worms in his mouth. There's this girl with Booker T, Sharmella. This is all that happened in the match. Booker T tried to do a couple moves. Boogeyman barely sold. Boogeyman had some worms in his mouth. Kissed Sharmella. He did like one shitty looking powerbomb to Booker T. 1, 2, 3. Again, why? Boogeyman was never worth a shit. Nothing just the actual guy, but the character Boogeyman was never worth a shit. No one can remember a good match or a good promo. Look at these worms I eat. Or they're put in my mouth. I don't give a shit. Booker T, good worker, good wrestler, to do a lot, you do nothing with. Just make him in a bullshit match. Worst match of the card. And then funny enough, the next one, Mickie James versus Trish Stratus, one of the better matches of the card. They both look beautiful. Mickie James was like a stalker, was a fan of Trish Stratus, then acts like a stalker, and then she wants to be number one. And the crowd was behind Mickie James, so they made the right decision. Because when Trish Stratus, who seemed like the hero, the babyface, they booed when she got moves in, but they cheered when Mickie James got moves in. Mickie James, they worked well together, they had decent move sets, and Mickie James won. The crowd, yay. One of the better matches of the card. Undertaker versus Mark Henry. I don't mind Mark Henry, but he's limited in what he can do. He's very strong, but it's very limited to what he can do. Undertaker, he does show some good agility. It's a coffin match, meaning you put your opponent in a coffin, you put the lid on. There's a point Undertaker jumps out of the ring over the coffin and lands on Mark Henry. Getting good athletic maneuvers by Undertaker. But number one, Mark Henry was never going to be a big threat to Undertaker. Undertaker by this point had an undefeated streak. No one thought Mark Henry would beat the streak. It kind of went like, it wasn't an awful match. It's just kind of like, eh. Mark Henry has a couple power moves. But there was nothing memorable, mumble mouth. There's nothing, not much to the match. I don't think this would be considered one of Undertaker's great matches, like with Shawn Michaels, or like what would be considered his best match. But I mean, people don't like the stuff he did with Stone Cold Steve Austin. I don't think it's Steve Austin Undertaker matches over this. I mean, it's not as bad as like when he fought Giant Gonzalez back in the day, but I mean, okay, ever be a bit nicer, average. I would say it's average. It was an average Undertaker match. But average doesn't really scream WrestleMania match. So I would say it's average. And then the last matches, I'll get more into it, but Shawn Michaels versus Vince McMahon, Rey Mysterio versus Randy Orton versus Kurt Angle, Tori Wilson versus Candice Michelle, and Triple H versus John Cena. Shawn Michaels versus Vince McMahon. I know a lot of people like this match. To me, really the only time I like Vince McMahon being against someone is Stone Cold Steve Austin, because there's a good story, and the way Austin treats Vince with, you know, the middle fingers and yelling at him, and like they had great chemistry. It seemed like after that, when Steve Austin had to retire because his neck was fucking him up more. Vince could never find that other foil. There's the match he had with Hulk Hogan. That was, fine because of the long history they had. And they're both kind of on equal footing at that point in their age as a wrestler. Shawn Michaels. Shawn is a very athletic person, but that's why they had to put the Spirit Squad, which was like these 5 male cheerleaders. One of them was actually later be Dolph Ziggler. They come in, and then Shawn pretty much beats all 5 of them. That's kind of what killed those guys' career, that one guy. And in fact, what really killed him was there was like a 2-on-5 where Triple H and Shawn Michaels beat all 5 of those guys. And so they were never a threat. Because if 5 people can't beat 2 people, that team is done. And the only one that got through was Dolph Ziggler. He had to change his name. But Shawn is beating up Vince. Spear Squad interrupts, try to beat up Shawn. Shawn attacks them. Vince beats up Shawn a little bit. But then Shawn makes Shane McMahon kiss his dad's ass. The moment people think about is beating up Vince McMahon, put him in a trash can, on a table. Shawn Michaels gets on a ladder, does an elbow. Commend Vince McMahon for getting hit that way. But it's still, at the end of the day, Shawn Michaels, an athletic guy, beating up an older, steroid up wrestling owner. Again, Stone Cold Steve Austin made that work because of the ongoing vitriol animosity. And they just had that chemistry with each other. Where Stone Cold would, this and, that wasn't really the case later on for other stuff. So, I mean, it's not a match. It's better than when Vince versus Bret Hart. It's way better than that. But yeah, Vince McMahon tried to have these. It's like, Vince, you're not a wrestler. I know you were steroided up for fitness magazines. You're proud of the way your body looked. You're pretty much there to get your ass kicked. I get it, because people hate the boss. I mean, I've seen better, I've seen worse. As I still Shawn beating up on an old steroid abuser, but old manager guy. Cool move. Elbow onto a guy in the trash can. Okay, but cool moment. Pretty much it. Because, I mean, come on. Shawn's not going to lose to Vince. Come on now. Rey Mysterio versus Randy Orton versus Kurt Angle. The crowd kept booing Rey because of what I said before. They felt that exploiting Eddie Guerrero's death was kind of low. I get their point. So I don't quite know how to feel about it. I get their point. I get what I think Rey Mysterio, there is sincerity in his point of view. But the company doing that as a whole, I think that was part from the company's point of view as well. I do. I think Rey was sincere, but the company, I don't think they were 100% sincere. No. Because they're usually not. If it's a way for them to make a bit of money, they're hopeful to do that too. Business before personal. And, I mean, this is one of the better matches. Randy Orton, I always thought was boring as a personality, but he's good in the ring, especially with the RKOs. Kurt Angle is fantastic. I never thought he sucked. He's a great wrestler. A lot of in retrospect, I think it would have been cool if Kurt Angle won this. And I think the crowd really wanted Kurt Angle to win, because this is a time where he was on fire. I mean, he was on fire at this point, and Yeah, the crowd wanted Rey to win. But it was nice, he got his moment to be a champion, his moment to shine. Pretty much never happened again. But yeah, would not have happened if it wasn't for Eddie Guerrero passing away. So I do like the match overall. I thought it was fairly fast paced. There's a lot of fun maneuvers. Now, okay, if I were to say like the best matches, I would say number one would be Edge versus Foley hardcore match. Number two would be, I like the Money in the Bank match. And number three, I would go with this one. The Rey Orton Angle match. And as I said, the worst one is the Booker T versus Boogeyman. And honestly, one of the worst ones is the last one. Triple H versus John Cena. And that's why it brings this WrestleMania down for me. I don't like these two guys. Their entrances were fucking dumb. Triple H came out as Conan the Barbarian, and Cena came out as if he was from the 1930s in a gangster car with a fake Tommy gun. I'm like, what the fuck is this about? Why is Triple H coming out in Conan the Barbarian outfit? And he has outfit like he stole from He-Man. Why is John Cena coming out as a gang? I guess because he's a gangster, but no, a literal gangster. Tommy gun. Is going to use that in the ring. And then the crowd just booed the shit out of John Cena, saying he can't wrestle. This guy was like the most polarizing babyface of all time in WWF. I cannot think of another babyface that's the most polarizing. This was number one. And in 2006, they're pretty much telling you. And then Rob Van Dam, he beat, I think it was ECW. I think it was ECW he beat John Cena. Was it one night stand? But they booed the shit out of Cena in that. And Rob Van Dam, I believe, won in that night. So Cena has lost, but he's still the most polarizing babyface. And I didn't give a shit about the match. John Cena trying to do these moves and bumble fucking around. Triple H being slow. And this is like one of the longest matches of the card as well. John Cena will do that thing where he'll get 18 moves on him. And then Super Cena. Didn't matter. Hulk Hogan did that, but even people got tired of Hulk Hogan after a few years. That's right, by around 1990, 1991, people were booing Hogan. That's what people don't realize. And the WrestleMania where Ric Flair won, if you see the unaltered tapes, when Sid Justice at this point, threw Hogan out, people cheered. And when the Hogan got pissed as a character and pulled Sid out, people booed. Now they altered the audio, so they reversed it. But in reality, people cheered when Hogan got thrown out because they were tired of seeing Hogan. So if they did get tired of seeing Hogan, yeah, of course they don't get tired of seeing John Cena's dumbass. And I hated this match. I didn't like the two guys. I don't think they have charisma, personality, or presence. Didn't care about what they did in the ring. And overall, this WrestleMania was a mixed bag for me. I dislike it more than I liked it. Again, if I had to rank from best to worst, again, I think Edge versus Foley, the Money in the Bank ladder match, and Randy Orton, Kurt Angle were the three best. After that, I would put Mickie James versus Trish Stratus, because they worked well together. Then I would put probably Shawn versus McMahon. I had a couple decent spots. To be fair, I'd probably put Benoit versus JBL. Then Kane and Big Show versus Carlito and Chris Masters. Then... Nah, I put Undertaker beats Mark Henry above the Kane Big Show match. So I would do that. Then Kane Big Show versus Carlito and Chris Masters. Then probably Triple H versus John Cena and Booker T versus the Boogeyman. And no, I did not talk about Tori Wilson versus Candice Michelle because it was a 2-minute pillow fight. Yes, an actual fucking pillow fight. If you're doing a pillow fight and I don't see actual tits, it's pointless. Fuck out my face. It was like a 2-minute useless pillow fight. Waste of fucking time. Technically, that'd be the worst match. But I put Booker T versus Boogeyman because I actually like Booker T. And he was used in such a shitty fashion. Oh, this is also, yeah, the inductees for the Hall of Fame. The inductees. Bret Hart was not there because he was still on bad terms with WWF at the time because of the Montreal Screwjob, because of the death of his brother Owen Hart. It wouldn't be till a while after that he would kind of make amends with WWF. I think Mean Gene Okerlund was in the Hall of Fame. I think the Blackjacks, which was a tag team. I forget who else. But yeah, it was a mixed bag for me. I know some people consider it the best. I disagree. Yeah, I'd rather watch... I mean, I don't know what the best is. Some of the time with Stone Cold and The Rock in the main of WrestleMania. Like, the first time they met, I enjoyed that match. It was a WrestleMania 13. No. Yeah, I think it was 13. Because they... No. 13. That was a good one because that was Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. That was WrestleMania 13. Because I think 14 is when Stone Cold won against Shawn Michaels. Then 15 was Stone Cold versus The Rock. 15, 17, and 19. Yeah, it was 19. Yeah, it was 19. And I think was 18 was The Rock versus Hulk Hogan. When Hulk Hogan was at NWO. But even back to, like, I love, like, WrestleMania 7. I liked Ultimate Warrior versus Macho Man Randy Savage. I actually really enjoy that match. The story it told. I do enjoy Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter. Like, WrestleMania 7 is probably one of my personal favorites. At least for me. But this one, again, Booker T used so piss poorly. Chris Benoit, I can't help it. I can't watch him anymore. I'm sorry. I know that's not fair. Just being honest. Undertaker had kind of a meh opponent. I like Mark Henry, but just kind of chemistry just doesn't work. Like, fuck Triple H, fuck John Cena. Tag team was a joke because Big Show and Kane, who's going to fucking beat them? Edge versus Foley was a highlight. Mick Foley versus Edge, that was the highlight. So, yeah, take that for what you will. With that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. And once again, fuck Nipple H, fuck Preparation H, fuck John Cena, fuck John Cena, because Cena sucks. John Cena sucks. The dick. John Cena sucks. My dick. John Cena sucks. He's a hit. John Cena sucks. Fuck that prick.